I don't know if it's going to work. If it doesn't work, we'll just skip it for today. I don't know if it's going to work. Hey, Don, Steve. The Daniel Border post. I don't know the Daniel Border post. I don't know the Daniel Border post. I just spilled all my coffee, so I'm in a foul mood. Trying to fix this. I spilled the coffee. Anyway, I'll get over it. I'll get over it. I still have some left. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I guess it's just being close to the White House, maybe. I don't know the Daniel Border, and I don't even, is that his name, Daniel? They bought a lot of finger. Well, it doesn't seem to show up in the price yet, does it? On the other hand, maybe it is showing up. 429, 430. It was as high as 454. Now this logic at 25 cents, 26 cents, you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't sleep on that deal. Shouldn't sleep on that deal. Yeah, I bought some calls. I mean, you guys bought stock because you're smart. What happened? I don't know. I turned it off. Hey, Richie. So now's your chance to ask any questions that you happen to see. What's the best tuna? Chicken of the sea. Vansi, I don't know where to get that post. I don't follow Borders. And then someone was asking about the letter from Congress. Let me just see if I can find it. I don't know where to look. MULN is going off. Oh, where I read that Daniel predicted $15. Well, I can show you that. I don't know where let me just show you. I can show you that. Daniel Borders, I still say $15 in the very short term. There's a big meeting in New York this week, Thursday. Might have a lot to do with how finger plays out. I don't know what he knows. I don't speak to him, so I don't really have any insight whether he's What's the question on the dividend being restricted? Is it hard to understand? The GTI dividends in my accounts are restricted and unregistered. Is that the case for? Of course. Of course. Of course. When restricted shares are issued, they're issued with a legend that says under the, I forget if it's the Securities Act of 33 or 34, these shares cannot be traded unless it's, I don't know if it's Rule 144 stock, but it's the same process. You got to get permission. You've got to get the legend removed. If you just wait till the restricted period is over, which is not that hard to understand, as many times as the question is asked, the restricted period is 6 months, typically. Is it higher here? I've never looked, but it should only be 6 months. Why? Because in the United States, that's the number, 6 months. In Canada, it's 4 months. And so then the restricted period comes off. I mean, the legend comes off and you can trade. And then your stock will show a price in your account, which is equivalent to the price of the common stock. The legend comes off. The restriction, which is a restriction on the ability to freely trade the stock, is lifted, and then you can freely trade the stock. Now, the question is, will brokerage firms stuff your account with counterfeit shares to the tune of maybe 40 million counterfeit shares? Then they are complicit in securities fraud. Then they may do that because it doesn't seem to be an issue that concerns Gary Gensler at all. The ongoing slaughter of companies and retail investors, retirement accounts in particularly the over-the-counter markets, the NASDAQ markets, by people who sell stock that doesn't exist is fine with Gary Gensler. He's completely content to allow it to continue. And if he ever has to do any kind of out in the open capture, he just hits them with a small fine. All right, boys, don't do it again. And then he lets them go do it again. The guy should be ashamed of himself. But he's not. He knows no shame. Just picked up 1,000 Hang and Moss Paranormal Logic. I think it is a bargain price. I bought more myself. I paid more than this number. I paid 30 cents, 28, 29, even I think 31 cents. But I did that maybe a couple of weeks ago. TD never moved my MMTLP shares to AST. Yeah, I don't think they're able to. She's forcing a reverse split on our home mortgage. Very funny. Very funny. No, I don't think they're able to move your and it's not MMTLP. It's Nexbridge. But it doesn't mean they're not going to, David. I would call up and ask them. I had to call several times. My suspicion, David, is that there's been an agreement reached. I have no knowledge of this. It's just my feeling that there's been an agreement reached whereby American Stock Transfer will accept shares, and then the system is going to pay Nexbridge for newly issued shares. That's what might have gone on. Hey, Karahito, that I used to listen to this music by that name was almost just like that. Kirito. God, it was great music. It was Japanese music. It's so good. I can't remember. MULN is spiking. So I just put a video. Let me look at MULN for what happens if you don't unable or don't transfer. MULN is 60 cents. Wow. Things are happening in the old town tonight. And if I read this correctly, that's 84 million shares. Do you want my prediction? My prediction? Pain. I think they'll do a deal and they'll cut the price in half. How's that for a prediction? What happens if you don't transfer? My guess is look, I'm trying to put some information together. I don't know if I'm right, but for months, there was no movement on the issuance of shares. And now all of a sudden there is. So to me, it's logical to think, something was agreed. And one of the things that compliance people do, and green shade types do, they try to define the problem. And one way to define the problem is to see how many shares are delivered. Then you know how much it is. Then you say, okay, we'll cut you a check, you issue the shares. If that happens, I don't think it means that you won't get paid out in your brokerage accounts. It's just that a large part of it will have been done. If I'm right, I could be totally wrong. Sorry for the noise. I spilled coffee on my thing that keeps the noise from happening. So let me see if I can get another one over here. I'm a total klutz. I'm not a klutz. My dad's second marriage, that family, there were klutzes. Great people. But I'm not one of them. But I'm also not. I am a little bit of a klutz here. So I'll predict that MULN does a deal after the market closes. How's that for being a total skeptic? Finger is 427, so they're able to bring it back down on low volume. That, I think, is the sign of a professional buyer. So anyway, he's working with Sharonto. Well, then he's finally fighting. He could have. Anyway, I'm tired of. Everybody's got to learn the horror of this their own way. And they can't believe it happens. Oh, it's not happening. Anyway, just because they would make a deal on the shares at AST, maybe, it doesn't mean you won't get a settlement in your shares at your accounts. The problem doesn't go away for the system. I just think maybe they're doing it in stages rather than all at once. But look, it's total speculation on my part. I don't know anything. Let's try to get this letter. I don't know where to find it. To Congress. AMC Theaters. All I can do is scroll through and hope to run into that letter that somebody was asking for here. Canaccord. No, that's not it. This is a really inefficient way. I can't find the letter to Congress, but here's Junk Savvy. Answer to Congress. God, he's a frightening.
I hope you will take note of the frustration that so many members have had, and outside of this chamber.
Oh God, I don't want to deal with it. Is there a ham call today? Probably not. There hasn't been one yet, and I don't think that's going to happen. He's got a doctor's appointment. Mike Cicerone. I think they'll short it again. Kirito. Hey, not legal advice. I forget too early for yawning. It might be too late for yawning. I don't know what your question was, Peterson 9, but if it was about the letter, I can't find it. I can't find it. If you can tell me where to locate that letter, I'll find it. But I'm not sure that was your question. So you're probably going to say, what the heck are you talking about? What's my opinion on the housing market? Mortgage rates are through the roof. I think everybody knows that housing is a protected class. And they'll come up with ways to keep people's monthly payments down. But I think the housing market's a lot like the stock market or a specific stock. You constantly have to ask yourself, who's going to be the next person in the pool? Who's going to buy my house from me? I'm a little jaundiced by the whole experience, as I told you, had to tell you yesterday. Well, anyway, I'll leave my own experience out of it. I think housing people, investors, including institutions, think that housing is a great investment and they need to own their homes. I think the generation, whether it's the 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds or even 20-year-olds, largely by the tremendous number of women who outnumber men in college, outnumber men in master's degrees and doctorates, and in this area, outnumber young men in jobs. I think they're buying houses. So there's demand, I think, for houses domestically. I also think there's money coming to the United States from places around the world, even though the dollar is supposedly in its last legs. And the place where that money goes is real estate. So I think people's mindset is they have to own a house and we better buy one. And that housing always goes up. It's been 40 years of Goldilocks situations for housing, and particularly young people, anyone under 40, doesn't remember when housing, other than that little blip that got rescued right away, doesn't remember a prolonged difficulty with housing. Supply is restricted by Airbnb, because people figure they can own another house and make money on it. Supply is also restricted by people who got a 30-year mortgage at 4% or even 3.2%, and they don't want to sell their house because they have to give up their mortgage. So there's not a lot of supply. I don't think builders are in the greatest position because costs are up. Even though it's not really reflected anywhere, I think costs are up. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with supply until people start saying, I don't want to own a house. It's too much. But we're not there yet. I'm not sure people believe interest rates are going to stay up. I remember when they stay up for much longer than people think. So I think there's a lot of wishful thinking going on in the housing market right now. Commercial real estate is what you should be scared of, obviously. I don't see how housing prices can stay as high as they are. I also don't see how it's a smart investment anymore. Who is going to buy it from you in 1 year or in 10 years? I think it's all going to be really where you buy your house, where it's located. And in the longer run, I guess that'll be my last comment, because I feel like I'm boring everybody. But in the longer run, I think the risk of owning real estate, particularly in cities, is that taxes go up on your property. And I would be reluctant to own a condo now because of condo fees. Yeah, I can't explain why real estate prices haven't come down. And I think they're going to be propped up until Joe Biden is reelected. Oh, a congressman who worked with Patrick Byrne in 2008. I don't know. I'll have to ask him, because I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I did do DB. I did put up a video. Let me see if it's up. It's why I sat outside, and then I decided to continue the video outside, the live stream outside. But let me see if it's up. We can talk about logic, because I think logic is... no, it's uploading right now. It's not up yet. It should be. Oh, no, it is up. I can't tell. Yeah, it's up. It's up. It's got 66. It's got 56 views. So I have that going for me. You've never seen better video production.
That's where I look. All right, this video.
You've never seen it.
Welcome to a video on logic, LGIQ.
I didn't listen to it before I put it up.
I'll try to write it down, the symbol down for you. And I will be doing a video on Finger, GTII, and Go Logic later. But this is on LGIQ.
See?
Logic.
See?
LGIQ.
I did the video, DB. I think that was you that asked me for it, which I always try to do what I say I'm going to do, but I'm not very good at it sometimes. So let me tell you a little bit about logic. Logic is, I spilled my coffee. Logic is the trade desk, TTD, for small companies. And look at trade desk's valuation right here. Oh, nope, right here. Trade desk went from 0 10 years ago to 36 billion with a B. Now, Trade Desk works with the big boys like Amazon and Walmart, people like that. Logic works with the little boys and girls. And I've got to find... oh, here it is. See, my coffee spilled all over my notebook. But I put this on the video... let me find it for you. How about RCRT? I think RCRT fairly soon look, Robert, they did, it rallied, and then those guys did a deal. And it just frustrates me so much because the stock seemed to actually be doing what it could do, and then they decided to raise 3 million shares and 3 million warrants into the price action, and killed it. But I think what's going to happen to RCRT soon is they're going to do a reverse split. And don't get all anxious. Don't get all worried. They're not doing a reverse split into the maw of a toxic lender. They are doing it in order to complete the transaction with GoLogic. And the combined stock, the fintech assets of GoLogic are being bought by RCRT. The surviving company is RCRT, whatever they decide to name it. But to stay on NASDAQ, that has to be over $1, a similar story. So I think there's going to be a reverse split shortly. It could be a significant reverse split. Let me see where the stock's trading. I was live with you guys. I probably would have sold at 45 cents for a trade, but I didn't get a chance to. Let's see where it's trading. Oh, 15 cents. I wish I had been able. I would have traded it at 40. I would have doubled my money. I said, okay, that's good enough. But I didn't. I was live. I didn't have a chance. So what I am going to guess, Robert, what I heard is, and I heard this a few weeks ago, they're going to want to get RCRT above $1. So maybe get it to $1.50. So if that's true, and maybe higher, maybe they go to $2. But let's just assume they get it to $1.50. I would expect to see a 1-for-10 reverse split. But it's not just going to be hanging out there with its rear end out the window. As soon as that's done, I think they will be able to announce the effectualization of the transaction with GoLogic, and so then RCRT becomes a big company with revenues, possibly 1 or 2 other deals being put into it, and it just becomes a whole different story. So I think that'll be a positive. But of course, the shorts under Gary Gensler's world can just, and he wants everyone to think MMTLP is a one-off. Under Gary Gensler's leadership, non-leadership, every stock that's on the over-the-counter markets is shorted to oblivion. How is it possible that every CEO in the over-the-counter market is cheating the market, and every stock needs the cleansing of the criminal naked short sellers? Gary Gensler is a fraud, absolute fraud. He is as counterfeit as the shares Goldman Sachs accepts in its prime brokerage. Anyway, so I'm not going to sell RCRT here. I would expect it'll go to $1.50 on a reverse split, which doesn't mean our value will go up. But then shortly, like maybe even simultaneously, they will complete the merger or the acquisition of the GoLogic FinTech assets, and all of a sudden Recruiter.com is a sizable company with revenues and perhaps other deals added in to the mix. So I think it'll be on its way. But, son of a bitch. Right when it was running the other day, the CEO did a deal with the shorts. Oh, an offer at 31 cents. No. The deal is Recruiter.com is buying GoLogic's assets, essentially. I mean, there's some assets going with the shell, but essentially buying GoLogic's assets. And GoLogic has, there's so many things to remember. I think it has 52 million shares out. Let me look. Okay. It's taking a while. I just want to know how many shares they have out. That's another stock they've destroyed, 54 cents. Okay, a number of shares outstanding according to Yahoo, which might be different than other sources. 129 million. 130 million. So they've got to get Recruiter.com and GoLogic. The assets go into Recruiter.com maybe at $1.50 a share. I'm just not fluent in the numbers, but all I know is it's very similar numbers to GoLogic. I expect you're going to see the reverse merger shortly, and then I think you're going to the reverse split, and then I think you're going to see the completion or the proxy first, but then the completion of the deal for GoLogic and RCRT. In the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then you're going to have a shell of GoLogic. And I promised everyone here I wouldn't talk about GoLogic because it's so confusing to talk about it at the same time as Logic. But GoLogic has Southeast Asian assets. They have some currently, which they may keep or not keep. They are looking at several big deals to put into the shell. It's almost the same story as Logic. But there's more moving pieces, and that's why I'm focused on Logic right now because there's a definitive number. Data Logic is being sold for 114 million specifically. It's specifically 11,400,000 shares of Aubrey SPAC. GoLogic is going to make a lot of money. The same ratios as Logic. But I can't tell you what the reverse split is going to be. I can't tell you what the ratio of RCRT into GoLogic shares, if any. I'm not even sure it's necessary. Maybe they just take the fintech business out. All of this will be announced shortly, and then we'll be able to discuss it more clearly. But I thought what they were going to do is run RCRT up to around 60, 70, 80 cents. Then they were going to do a ratio based on that higher strike price vis-a-vis GoLogic shares, and instead they ran the price up at RCRT. The CEO of RCRT, who currently is autonomous from GoLogic, he still runs his show. He decided to sell $1 million worth into it, just over 3 million shares and 3 million warrants, and so he opened up the shorts again. I don't know why he did that, but he did. I don't think it's going to be a bad thing, though. I think RCRT will do a reverse split. I do think there will be buying of the stock, and then the transfer of the fintech assets will go into that NASDAQ company. GoLogic will sit there out there as a shell. It currently has, trying to remember the name, a big fintech piece itself. I'm not sure if they're going to keep that. And then GoLogic is going to acquire 1, 2, or 3. There, as a shell, their private companies are going to go into that. I don't have enough specifics on it, and it becomes confusing because I can't give you song and dance on each one. And all I can tell you is GoLogic is going through a very similar process as Logic. Logic is 26 cents. The S4 should be approved today, tomorrow, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. If they get it done within 10 days of the answer on the final comment, this is the sixth day. So tomorrow would be the 7th, Friday would be the 8th, Monday would be the 9th, Tuesday would be the 10th. And the SEC always comes back within that time frame on these SPACs, most of the time. So you should get an approval on Logic's S4. Logic will go in see, now it's all these logics and it gets all confusing. I shouldn't have talked about GoLogic. Just try to erase that from your mind. Logic at 25 cents. Data Logic will go into the Aubrey SPAC, which is trading for $11. It is worth about $1.25 a share to you. That approval should come by Tuesday. Once the approval comes, the proxy goes out. 10 days maybe for the voting, notice and voting. Then there's a record date and effective date. That'll all come clear over the next few days. And once that happens, Data Logic, the engine of Logic, goes into the Aubrey SPAC. They will de-SPAC that, and it becomes collective audience. Right now it's trading for $11 a share. I think it could trade as high as $20, $30, or $40 a share and settle back in at $15, $20, even $25 a share after that distribution is made effective. Logic is a shell which is being shorted by the criminals and by maybe by legitimate shorts, saying, "Hey, it's not going to have anything. We can short it. It'll go down to nothing." There was a company, they used the name private company, that Brent agreed to do a reverse merger into, which Brent allowed to expire. That was worth 40 to 60 cents a share. He allowed it to expire. Why? I don't think it's because he has worse deals. I think it's because he's looking at additional deals that are better. So I think that those deals are probably going to be worth 40, 50, 60, 70 cents a share. But in my numbers, I use 40 cents. So the shell, which the shorts are not taking into account, because they're such geniuses, but I think the shell simultaneously will be reverse mergered if that's a word, into a big company, whatever it is, which will give you 40 cents a share on the Logic side. I think on the Aubrey SPAC side, which will be called Collective Audience, it'll be worth $1.20. That's $1.60. The stock's trading at under 30 cents. That's 5x in value that I think you should see over the next 4 to 6 weeks in value. And it could be higher than that. It could be higher than that. And then on the SPAC side, which will be de-SPACed and will be called Collective Audience, I think there will only be 12 or 13 million shares outstanding. They could do 100 million in revenue. And if you do the comparison to the worst of the peers at two times turnover, that's about $16, $17 a share. That's up 70% from the takeover price, which is up from the 26 cents that it's trading for. So 26 cents becomes $1.20 right now, but it could be approaching $2, $2.10 in the, adjusting for the difference in price. But your $1.20 could be $2, $2.25 on the Aubrey SPAC side soon. And then the Shell side, I think, is 40 cents. But they're going to have a deal there, and then other deals. That could be 70, 80 cents pretty soon. So you could have a $3 number for 30 cents right now. And it's not subject to all the shorting and the crappy financing, because Brent's not going to do that again. I think they have big financiers behind them. So it's more is going to be revealed in the near term. But I think Logic is bloody well cheap right now. And look at Trade Desk. Trade Desk went from 46 million in revenue in 10 years to 1.5 billion in revenue. Logic in 2022 did 45 million in revenue. Logic is providing the same service the Trade Desk provides to big companies. Logic's providing it to the other 50% of the marketplace, which is comprised of small and medium-sized businesses. Could Logic do this kind of revenue growth? Why not? Why not? All right, that's my answer on Logic. I'm so sorry about GoLogic. There's gaps. There's just gaps in the knowledge, and it's hard to give a detailed explanation when there's a big gap there, and I don't know it. Nobody knows it. But it's a similar story, and I think GoLogic at 50 cents, GoLogic easily could be a $5 stock, but it easily could be a $10 or $12 stock. So on the combined, so they're both very attractive. Should you buy more GTII at 60 cents? Is it trading there? I don't know. You got it. I can't give you specific financial advice, but if I were buying right now for a squeeze, I'd buy Finger. If I were buying now for nothing's for certain, but for almost a sure bet, a safe play, I would do the arbitrage in Logic in a heartbeat. 30 cents turns into $3. Now, is that as exciting as if GTII goes to 600? No. But right now, if you buy GTII at 60 cents, it would have to go to $6, which I think it will, to get what I think is the same rate of return you can get in Logic right now from 30 cents to $3. And I think the certainty of that happening is very high. And I'm not going to bore you with it again, but Aubrey SPAC, ASPA, is trading for $11 approximately. Logic is going to distribute data logic into that Aubrey SPAC, and I think it'll be worth $1.25 a share. And then you're getting Logic Shell, which I think will be worth 40 cents a share in value. 120 plus 40 is 160. I think you can buy 30 cents right now. It'll be $1.50 in 2 to 6 weeks in value. Who knows how the market treats it? That's 5 times your money, and that process has been going on now since last November. There were 64 comments that the SEC originally put out. They had 6 different comment sessions. It's down to one last comment, which was answered 6 days ago. The SEC is expected to give their approval now, but at the latest 10 days. So either today at the close, or tomorrow at the close, Friday at the close, Monday at the close, Tuesday at the close. After it's announced, no one can sit there and say, well, explain logic to me. It'll be there in black and white. It'll be there in black and white. And then you have the proxy period, which is 10 days approximately. They'll vote on it. The distribution will be made. I think simultaneously an acquisition will be reverse mergered into the shell that will shock the shorts right now, thinking they're picking up pennies. They're about to lose dimes. And so you're gonna put 30 cents, going to be worth, the shell is 40 cents to you, and the Aubrey SPAC $1.25, and I can't come up with any risk in that trade. Now with GTII, buying it at 60 cents, you're going to have GTII at 60 cents. I think that when Finger runs, GTI is going to go with it. They're like two suns rotating around each other. So if Finger goes to 40, I think GTII goes to 10, 15, 20. And then keeps running. But the way I would play it right now is I would do Finger, Logic, GTII. That's how I would do it. I'm not changing my opinion of GTII. It's just that the marketplace puts timing and puts stresses and puts opportunity before you that change the dynamics. Finger, we know, according to Borders, there's a big meeting tomorrow in New York, and apparently he's been buying. The stock's been going up. It's been under accumulation. Could it be they fired the Lynn Partners? They fired Benchmark. Could it be that they are in the middle of a new financing, a new alignment, a new financial advisor? I don't know. Could it be that they have investors coming into Finger? You know Finger's going to have a massive September earnings report. If you give any credence to their trajectory. But anyway, I think Finger's on the verge of a squeeze. That's why I'd buy Finger right first. Logic, it's just as done a deal as can be. The only thing that my problem is you're looking at a stock price and you're saying, well, how can it be 25 cents if what he's saying's right? Obviously, the market doesn't agree with him. And I know from my studies in Econ 101 that the price of a stock always reflects all information, and therefore I should be wary because whoever's shorting that stock must know something that William doesn't. Well, the reason the opportunity is sitting in front of you is because the shorts are shorting it. The entire engine of logic right now is data logic. They're putting that with the Aubrey SPAC. So there's going to be a shell, and the shorts are saying, well, there's nothing in it. Why don't we just short it? We can short it at 25 cents and buy it back at 5 cents. But I'm telling you, because of the conference calls, because of calls we've had with him, because of in the earnings announcements, and just the marketplace, deal flow is going before Brent. And he would not have let the deal with the private company expire unless he has better deals that he's looking at for a reverse into the shell. I believe, because as you know, Brent's fighting the shorts, I believe that Brent will be able to announce some sort of reverse merger candidate at the same time as the final distribution of the DLQ assets into the Aubrey SPAC. That's sitting right in front of you. So with GTII, you pay 60 cents, and it might happen tomorrow, it might happen the next day, it might happen in a month. I believe GTII is going to explode to the upside. But what I look at right now is Logic is expecting approval of the S4 tonight. That's 6 days. Maybe the SEC comes in at 7 days. That's tomorrow. Maybe they come in at 8 days. That's Friday. I don't know how many times in the market you can get an arbitrage between a almost 99.99 certainty of an event happening where the Aubrey SPAC is approved, and that part of your 26 cents is suddenly worth $1.25 in value, possibly going to $2.50 in value. I don't know why you'd walk away from that. But yeah, I love GTII. If you want to put 60 cents there, I think you're going to make a hell of a lot of money on it. But if you already own GTII, maybe a little logic makes sense. All right, let's see where everything's trading. Oh, everything's signed out. Hey, Julian. The symbol for logic is LGIQ. L is in logic. G is in logic. I is in logic. Q as in queen. So it's Larry, God, idiot, Q, queen. Mullins up. I don't know what's going on. Apparently he's joined the fight. He hired Sharon Tell, and he put a letter out. I made the prediction before I knew that he'll do a deal with the shorts. But maybe I'm wrong, because if he's hired Sharon Tell, he now realizes what he's up against. And that, better late than never. Okay. Daniel Borders thinks that retail is hurting themselves by buying calls as opposed to stock. Says buying stock at offer is much better way to apply pressure. What do I think? I think he's talking his own book. Would he tell his clients, his big people, to buy at the offer? I don't know. But in general, the stock of Finger right now is $4.36. I think it's so cheap, it makes much more sense to buy the stock than buy calls, because the stock is a long-term call. But there you can risk fewer dollars and expose yourself to more shares by buying the calls. But we just experienced the massive risk, which is Daniel Borders is right about. We do hurt ourselves when we buy calls and they expire worthless. But no, I don't think there's any truth to the strategy of buying the stock, retail, buying the stock on the ask, driving the price up. I think perhaps, I don't even think professional buyers would do something like that. Hi. 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 Good to see you. Beautiful blue eyes. So I don't necessarily agree with him. He must have a reason why he's saying it. Buying calls, just so you know, and maybe he doesn't know this, but I think he would. I think he would know it very much. The more calls you buy out there, the premium goes up, and that brings in buyers of the stock because they can buy the stock and sell the calls in a normal situation. So I don't see much difference between buying calls or buying stock. Okay, now the final thing I'll say, it's not your job to push the stock up, and I don't think it's been all of us that have pushed the stock up. It was $1.44. I don't think it was your buying or my pitiful buying that made the stock go up. I think there's a big professional buyer in Finger, maybe more than one, and I think the buying is going to happen regardless of whether you buy stock or buy calls, sit on your hands, or continue to hold AMC. All right, Finger is 433, up 8 cents. No volume today compared to what you would expect to see if it was about to run, but it's a nice day. RCRT is down at 16 cents. MULN is up 36 cents at 84. That's a hell of a lot of volume. 184 million shares. Average volume is 52 million. Shares outstanding are 184 million. So it's traded its entire float today. So very interesting situation. I, like a knee-jerk jerk, said that I thought he'd do a deal after the close. Because I've since found out that he's decided to fight, I guess that prediction won't. That'll join the other predictions I've made that aren't going to happen. Logic is 28.72, 28 to 28.9. Darn it! I was going to buy more. Now I've made it go up. Darn it! But anyway. So last trade 28.9. That's not bad. And let me see if there's any other quote here worth looking at. Big is 15 cents. ASPA is $10.95. So Logic entered in a definitive agreement to sell Data Logic to Aubrey SPAC for $114 million in stock at a price of $10 a share. So at $114 million at $10 a share, that works out to 11,400,000 shares, which are going to be given to us for the acquisition of Data Logic. And it's given as, it becomes a company. So that's worth $125 million already, instead of $114 million. So when you divide that back out, well, I I can't, I don't know how they're going to ratio it through. I will tell you how retail hurt themselves in the case of MMTP. Well, Pete, on MMTLP and Congress are saying we're nuts. But Congress doesn't say that the assholes who counterfeited perhaps hundreds of billions, if not trillions of shares of Torchlight are nuts. They don't say that the counterfeiters, that it created shares out of thin air, violating all sorts of rules, to hundreds of billions of shares perhaps in MMAT are nuts. They don't say that the counterfeiters who defrauded Wall Street by creating the listing for MMTLP, and then the SEC approved and FINRA approved. They're not saying SEC and FINRA are nuts. They're saying Terry Yonkers is nuts. Obviously, there was going to be a short squeeze. Pete, the only reason there wasn't is that FINRA stopped trading. Otherwise, there would have been a short squeeze. I don't think Terry Yonkers is nuts. How could he predict that they were going to stop trading? I'm not mad at you. I'm just frustrated with the whole thing. I mean, it's so predictable. It is so predictable. They can put their media machine, their shills, their bought professors, their bought lobbyists into action saying, I said this all along. They're going to turn you and me into Bernie bros or Reddit bros or big fat Russians sitting on our mother's basement beds playing with our computers. And I said, don't let them do that. But it's so obvious that that's what they have to do. They have to make it a one-off, and we are the stupid ones. They have to do that. And if Congress buys it, vote out Congress. What happened to GTII today? Sell, Jim Cramer. Lots of laughs. Thank you for that well thought out question. What happened to GTII today? GTII entered into a financing they thought that was good with the liars at Power Up Lending, Kurt and Seth Kramer and Charlie Mayo, in November of 2020, I think. You can look it up. Very quickly, David Reichman realized he had been had. So he bought back, under the terms of Kurt Kramer's note, he bought back the entire thing at a premium with penalties. Kurt Kramer had a par value of $72 million, to my memory. He actually gave, by the time they took out some fees, I think it was $63,000 to GTII, and in return they got an unlimited ability to they got a toxic convertible formula, so your buddies could short the stock. There was a big slug of stock put at the transfer agent. Then they had tranches. They could sell stock, take a look backwards, and then you got a discount off of the lowest price of 5 days or whatever the formula said. So Kurt Kramer set about defrauding investors, selling stock without a prospectus. His uncle, Gary Gensler, doesn't care that he defrauds the market. Breaking his cease and desist with the SEC, Gary Gensler doesn't care. And so they apparently sold 60 million shares. You can argue with the number, but it's close to that. 60 million shares that did not exist from the time that they signed the note with GTII, Kurt Kramer and his brother. It was something between 40 million and 60 million shares that did not exist without a prospectus. They drove the stock down. GTII bought it back. There are no shares. At that time, Kurt Kramer could have covered his position and taken a loss. Instead, what he decided to do was to continue to defraud Wall Street and defraud America. Since that time, he has sold another 360 million shares, it's estimated. You can argue with it. But until Gary Gensler has transparency, which he doesn't, because it protects Goldman Sachs, I'll go with the number that I'm given, 400 million. So what happened to GTII today? They kept selling the stock with stock that doesn't exist. They continued to defraud the markets by selling shares that do not exist. And wouldn't you do it? Oh, you do it. You do it. LOL. They're going to continue to sell stock without a prospectus, without a registration statement, without even a worry of a whistle from a cop until they can't do it anymore. Every day GTII goes down, that's what's going on. You don't have to ask me the question. Reichman has 35 million. Can he sell it all at once? No. Vonsi. He has purchased shares in the open market. As you know, Vonsi, you pay particularly close attention, which locks up all of his stock for a year. So he can't sell that 35 million. Eventually he'll be able to. Eventually the restrictions will come off. But for the time being, he cannot sell it. The insiders do sell 1% a month of their massive award of stock. They awarded themselves a massive amount of stock, but it's all restricted. They also gave a huge amount of stock to a charity. I don't know the restrictions on that. Would you rather, Vonsi Kiev, that they paid themselves big salaries, or they made a deal with the shorts and just gave the short stock and then collected money themselves via that way and set themselves up like popcorn or COSM? Would you rather that? No. What they did is issue stock to themselves. I think a lot, no question. But they've been working on your side. It is restricted. They cannot sell it. There is 92 million shares in the float of GTII now versus 400 million shares that have to be covered. When I first got involved, there was a float somewhere in the 10 million range. It grew to 25, 30 million, and there was an outstanding short position of 40 to 60 million. The ratios are still about the same, but none of the numbers are completely provable because there is no transparency in Gary Gensler's markets. These shorts have the ability to communicate with each other and to defraud and know information that you and I don't have access to. Pete Pangelos, YouTubers are not the cause of MMTLP mess. Pete and M. Casey, the stock market is supposed to be price discovery between buyers and sellers using the laws of supply and demand. In a normal market, all the information settles in on a price. For 8 years at least, under Gary Gensler and others, Goldman Sachs, hundreds of millions of shares of Torchlight were sold that did not exist. That distorted the laws of supply and demand. That fed supply into the market, artificially suppressing the price of the stock, destroying the ability of Torchlight and its investors to get a company going and get financial reward. Then Torchlight sold its shell to MMAT. MMAT got sold down because the shorts kept selling, defrauding the markets. That was a gross distortion of supply and demand. Then the criminals in Germany or in Canada, because they were caught with their hand in the cookie jar, they decided to list MMTLP, because all you have to do, set up one little account in Germany, sell one share, bamboozle the SEC. They approved it. FINRA approved it. OTC markets, hey, because it's such a big, we'll just keep the short position going. Goldman Sachs prime brokerage continue to make money. They sold another hundreds of millions of shares. So they distorted supply and demand in 3 different entities over 8 years. But according to Pete and Congress, hey, normal. No, that's normal. No worries. It's YouTubers that are affecting it. They're the ones that are distorting the demand and the price. It's the YouTubers. It's not the criminals in Germany, the criminal that's in charge of the SEC. It's not them. No. It's the YouTubers. What Uncle Smokey and others noticed, and I noticed at the very last 1 or 2 days, is there was a potential for a short squeeze. Now, the short squeeze didn't happen. Not because it wasn't going to happen, not because all the ingredients weren't there, not because Smokey was wrong. It's because FINRA stopped trading. That was the YouTubers' fault? Pete, I don't think, I really think you have to decide whether you want to be in the stock market, because I think what FINRA did was expedient, but it was wrong. And there should have been the ability to see what would have happened as broker-dealers tried to cover, fraudulently failed to deliver positions in your account and everybody else's accounts. But to blame it on the YouTubers is lazy, it's dishonest with yourself, and it's unfair. It's just unfair. This situation was caused by Gary Gensler and Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs bought the United States government, and this is their recompense. This is what they get for it. Hey, Red Pepper, Ronnie. I don't know if it was a good video. I just put it up. But anyway, I'll do more videos, and Brent will come on once there's any kind of announcements. Has MULN done a deal yet? Am I being a jerk? Yes, I'm being a jerk. Daniel Borders said, meeting tomorrow morning. His group bought 2.5 million of FNGR last 2 weeks. Yeah, I've been hearing he's been buying a lot of stock, and I welcome him to the fight. I didn't notice that the volume matched his words, but I'm not saying he hasn't bought a lot of stock. I think any buyers he's brought in are professional, so it's possible that as the stock goes up, they step back, and rather than driving the stock price up, they've been willing, like Muhammad Ali with George Foreman, rope-a-dope, let it come to them. We'll find out. We'll find out. All right, Chuck Donald. I don't blame you for being upset, and I don't think you really have to apologize. You know, the advantage the shorts have is that people get mad. We all get mad. Why am I in this? And frankly, we shouldn't have bought any of these stocks. We should have put all our money in Tesla and the Morgan Stanley Opportunity to Retire Fund Plus Bust Trust. And just let Wall Street manage our money. We'll make 4 or 5%. They'll make 30% a year. They'll collect fees. They'll have all the young girlfriends and the second wives and the second homes and the 4 cars, and the Kramer brothers can continue to loot, and Gensler can come out with inane videos on how you should use the resources on the SEC website to learn how to invest for retirement rather than enforcing the rules. We shouldn't be in the markets, but we are. We get in. Why did we get in? Why did you get into AMC, GME? Why do you get into Finger or GME or GTII or MMTLP? Because you notice the imbalance in supply and demand. You notice the imbalance of real and fake shares. And you assume Gary Gensler, the cop, would force settlement. Little did you know that the cop is bought. The cop is part of the drug cartel. So, but we blame each other. We blame Terry Yonker. Simon Hagan, I've never seen your name before, so I assume you're a shill. I've lost my life savings in the market. I'm ruined. I'm sorry. There's not enough in that sentence. You lost it all in MMTLP. You lost it in GTII. I mean, GTII is still trading. You lost it in calls and Finger. They're not trading. Is that? You put your entire life savings into calls? I'm sorry it happened, Simon. Oh, you got into AMC because of GME. That I could see. Oh, yeah, I could see you lose a lot in that. I could see you lose a lot in that. If you own any AMC right now, instead of feeling ruined, problem is you're just going to be gun shy and you're not going to want to do anything. Look at that stock, $1.95. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But right now, you could turn that $1.95, in my opinion, you could turn that into $10 by selling that and buying Logic tomorrow. Just get out of AMC and buy Logic. I'm not telling you to buy Finger or GTII, because GTII and Finger are both short squeeze plays like AMC was, and I think your financial emotions must be on the edge. Logic isn't going to go up 100 times. but I think Logic can go up 5 times for you. You can turn that $1.94 a share into $10 a share. But you got to sell AMC and you got to buy Logic. And that means that your dreams that AMC is going to squeeze you might not ever be in that. But I think if you can wait 31 days, Logic could be, in my opinion, Logic, you buy it at 30 cents. It could be $1.50. It could be $3. It could be $6. You sell it and you buy back GTII. I mean AMC. You buy back AMC. Now the thing is, I left out on Logic, by the way. It's likely they're only going to let people sell 25% of the Aubrey SPAC side initially, and then the rest will be restricted for a period of time. Yeah, Kit Kitteridge, you're right. The naked shorts caused this idea of meme stocks. I knew they do. Do I know if Ham is going to the meeting tomorrow? Yes, I know. Oh, you did, Dominic, buy Finger and GTII? Well, and you probably sold AMC higher than it is now. It's tough. There's an ebb and flow. I think Finger is going to trade up over the next 3 weeks. Is it going to squeeze? I really thought it was on the verge of squeezing in the June-July time frame. Just looking at the charts, looking at the volume, all the momentum. But whoever was doing that just decided to pull back and didn't go in for the coup de grace. I don't know what they're thinking, but I don't think they've gone away. So I think Finger could go to, I don't know, 9. Maybe it goes back to its past high 15, 16. And that'd be a nice move. From there, will it squeeze? I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But GTII, unless the Treno mine deal comes in out of the blue, I think GTII could trade in the 60 cent to $1 range, another month or two. But remember, in September last year, it ran up, so we don't know. And then there's the Alpine situation, the FBI. Logic has a reason that it's just people don't trust anything anymore, and I don't blame you. But the S4 had 64 comments from last November. 64. That means they need answers. It came down to one last comment 6 days ago. Well, before 6 days. It was answered 6 days ago. The SEC is supposed to respond within 10 days of receipt of the last answer. Well, today's the 6th day. Their pattern is they respond after about a week. So it could have been yesterday, could have been today, could be tomorrow. That's going to happen in Logic. I think the shorts are going to be caught out. I think finally, Logic was a 320, 350 stock before the NEO exchange destroyed it. And then Ionic Ventures came in. Of course, the lawyers tell me they not only did they not short Ionic. They never short any stock. Logic. They never short any stocks. All right, let's see how fingers trading. 434. Well, that wasn't all that exciting. I mean, it's good that it closed at 431, but you would have thought it would have. I was hoping it would run. Yeah, Brett, the markets are sickening, and the regulators are sickening. And I saw the picture of Bill Clinton walking with his wife the other day. All I could think of, there goes the bastard that convinced the world that Goldman Sachs could regulate itself. I'm checking. Checking to see if there's any. GTI goes first. Alpine expelled and Iraq. Yeah, that's true, Vonsi. I think, to be clear, Alpine's already been expelled. It's just that it's appealed. It's using its rights in the courts. I think Gary Gensler is a wimp. He could enforce, at a minimum, he could enforce the violation of 36 million. 36 million times. Is it 36 million? 36,000. Now I'm losing my mind. I think it's 36 million violations Alpine has made of the cease and desist order that FINRA put him under. Gary Gensler could enforce that. He just wants to go through the courts because Gary doesn't want, he's a bureaucrat. He doesn't want to make a mistake so he can be fired. He wants to be Secretary of the Treasury under the Kamala Harris administration. Or he wants to be on the board of Goldman Sachs. So 36,000, okay. I'm getting all my numbers wrong. 36,000. Why don't I pontificate on instant gratification as it relates to the stock market? Instant gratification is going to get you as it relates to the stock market. I don't know how to pontificate on that. And I'm sorry I pontificate. It is, Brett. It's just... And when I say Goldman Sachs, that's in lieu of saying Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. It's the whole cabal of them. Yeah, it's always possible GTI and Finger flip. My guess is Finger could go at any time. But GTI, could go at any time. But Finger has strong buying over the last 10 weeks or so. I don't know why they haven't just gone ahead and pushed it much, much higher. But they've allowed whoever's shorting it to drive it back down. This may be part of this buyer's strategy. It's like watching a chess match. These are professional buyers, unlike what Borders says. They don't go in and buy at the ask. They might buy some up there and then bid for the rest. They let the shorts give it to them at lower prices. Is that a strategy? Or is that buyer who's been buying all along, is that a buyer whose strategy is to let the shorts drive the stock lower? Has that buyer come here over the last 10 or 12 weeks to buy the stock up and then just stand there and let the stock be driven back down by the shorts? I don't think so. So I think in Finger there's a real buyer. She's professional and she's going to drive it higher. Secondly, we know from the documents filed that Finger fired the Lynn Partners and by extension Benchmark. So it probably means Finger has to come up with a new financial partner. Further, we know Finger hired West Christian and Sharontel, so my guess is they're going to hire a bona fide financial partner, not fakes like the Lynn Partners. So that we got that going. We know from the second quarter earnings that they did a great job. So the third quarter, if you just extrapolate a little bit, probably should be break even or better. That's coming. We know that there's a massive short, 160 million shares that has to be covered from Tom Ronk's data. We know it's probably Jeffries, but it could be somebody else that is going to be caught out. They're not Alpine. So when the push comes to shove, they're going to have to cover. Finger's about to go into a whole new ball game. They're getting away from the scum of the earth like Jeff Easton. And they're going to, I don't know names, but they're going to go with bankers who have real dollars to fund companies with, rather than just selling the company's own shares in the market and then giving the company its own money at a discount with penalties, with all sorts of poisonous provisions in it. I mean, it's the same story over and over again. I get so bored with it. But I think Finger's the one that's going to go, not GTII. First. I think it's going to be Finger. But as I've said so many times, I think this is like two suns revolving around each other. When Finger goes, GTII will go. And right now the shorts are trying to destroy us. They're trying to break us apart because this is more lucrative than cocaine. It's more lucrative than any organized crime out there. And Gary Gensler is the Don, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Ken Griffin, SAC, Wells Fargo, Jeffries. They're the five families. Finger is 444. That's a weird number. Isn't that a lucky number? Sailboat or something? Well, I don't know. My guess is that Jeffries gets a lot of business from Benchmark and from all of the companies Benchmark. I don't think Lynn Partners is the only group that Benchmark feeds. So my guess is Jeffries is reluctant to pull the plug on this massive source of revenue. These people in Germany, which are probably United States investment banks, and out of Canada, are moving trillions of dollars. And it's all YouTubers causing it. It's Smokey causing it. It's the YouTubers causing this fraud and this amount of trillions of dollars being funneled overseas. Without paying taxes. It's massive. It is a massive criminal enterprise, and they don't want to give it up. And Goldman Sachs is involved. SAC is involved, Ken Griffin is involved, and so on, in my judgment. Rudy Myers, God, Rudy, get out of GTII. Just sell GTII. Just sell it. FINRA halted MMTLP. That's true. We'll go back over that. It was a U3 halt. FINRA got the approval, got the notice of SEC's approval of the trading in being halted in MMTLP and converted into NextBridge on Wednesday. I'm going to say that was December 6th or 7th. I might be wrong by a day. FINRA then gave its approval on Wednesday the 7th or Thursday the 8th. Trading happened, continued on Thursday. Phone calls came in from 105 broker-dealers saying, what the frack? We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't buy in. We don't have enough time to give notice. There's no way we can settle these trades. You have to give us better guidance. The attorney there, who probably never practiced law, looked up a regulation and said, we're going to halt trading. They halted trading in MMTLP because there's a rule that allows halting of stock that you cannot deliver in a private company. Okay, that's MMTLP. Popcorn has been in the cahoots with the criminals. Therefore, David Reichman is going to be in the cahoots with the criminals. David Reichman was called by Charlie Mayo. You can go on the spaces and see it. By Charlie Mayo. Hey, Reiki, I've had a talk with the boys. We've made some numbers. We're ready to make a deal. We'll give you cash for stock. I'm adding that last bit. And Reichman said no. 2 months ago, 19 million shares short in Switzerland. Called up Reiki and said, at $3, we'll give you money, give us stock. He said no. At $2, we'll give you money, give you stock. No. At $1, he said no. So I guess you believe that because Popcorn did it, Reichman's going to do it. Get the hell out of the stock. I would love to get a good investigative journalist. I'm not sure there are anymore. Gretchen Morgenson is a good investigative journalist, but I think she's so afraid of stepping outside of her privileged lifestyle. She's not gonna. She'll come report on it after the fact, but she's not going to take a risk of. This is so big. This is corruption on a scale that if you want your granddaughters to go to Harvard, you don't report on it. If you want your granddaughter to go to Yale, you don't report on it. If you want your daughter to get the promotion to CEO, you don't report on this. This is big stuff. And Gary Gensler, the glad-hander, he's not going to do it. I don't know where we can get a journalist. There's no one at the Washington Post. There's one woman at the New York Times, and I forget her name right now. I'm not sure she's still there. But her name's not coming to me. She was younger. The journalism's not going to do it. The media is owned by BlackRock. Congress isn't going to do it. Congress is owned by Goldman Sachs. The Democratic Party's not going to do it. Goldman Sachs got a lot for its money in terms of the Democratic Party. and the current Secretary of Treasury. I don't think the Republican Party is going to do anything. I think a lot of them are bought out too. So I don't know where the answer comes from. To me, the answer comes from price. If the stock gets out of control, we can hurt them where it counts. And once you make money, get the hell out of the stock market. Just get away from it. And you can go back to assuming it's YouTubers causing the trouble, not the 13,000 criminals out of Canada and the hundreds, if not thousands of criminals out of Germany who sell trillions of dollars of stock that do not exist because Gary Gensler encourages it. Laura Logan might be good. Laura Logan might be good. You guys want to do it with journalism and you want to do it with Congress. I love that. But it's not going to happen soon enough so you get a return on MMTLP or you turn it around on AMC. I don't know why anyone's still in AMC. But everyone keeps thinking beyond hope it's going to have a squeeze. These guys have paid off this tub of lard popcorn. They paid them off. Just like the CEO of COSM, in my judgment. David Smith, I quit buying GTI. I bought up to, it's a lot of stock you bought. ABC buried the Epstein story. Who is ABC? ABC. Who is ABC? Alicasio. Who's ABC? Are you talking about the television network? Well, I think talking about Epstein is another area I better just follow the science on. You know? Well, Alicia, I can a man be a woman? When a man loves a woman, is he looking for a man? Lalicia, I sold all of my CRTD, lost so much money, but I bought back half of my position in Vocal, and I'm 50-50 about buying anymore because he's raising money without issuing more stock. But I'm not sure how to calculate that as a valuation. If it just reduces revenue, I suppose it's not strictly dilutive, but it is kind of. I mean, if it takes a lot of revenue away, it delays growth. But that stock is getting very close to being seller boxed. If it gets to 0.0001, I don't know if there's a recovery. But I like Jeremy, and I very well might buy my second half. NVIDIA just reported 13 billion, up 101%. That's really darn good. Who is this on AMC? David Smith. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was wrong on CRTD, so how can I be giving you advice on AMC. Now it's $2. I was telling people to get out at $4 and $5 of AMC and $3.95. Now it's $2. How much lower can it go? My answer is it can go a lot lower. A lot lower. I didn't give you a response, MKC. Let me look at your question. Rudy Myers bought into Finger. I think that's great. NVIDIA over 500. That's awesome. I hope I got to talk to Sada Aman because maybe she can sell some calls. That's great. Yeah, Kit Kitteridge. Finger, the two stocks right now that I feel the most confident in, not because GTI isn't life-changing and I don't feel confident in it, but the two that I feel the pieces all lined up, Finger and Logic. Finger and Logic. I think GoLogic's going to do great. And I think GTII is going to do great. But right now, do I have to repeat myself? I think you're going to see the S4 approved in Logic, and all of a sudden, you're going to get your motors running. And then on Finger, as Vansi points out, there's this meeting, and I didn't know it was in the morning. That actually makes me excited that it's in the morning. But there's a meeting in New York tomorrow regarding Finger. I'd love to go. In a previous life, I would be there, but I'm just a YouTuber now, causing all the trouble. But I used to be in the thick of it, raising money and all that. But to me, a morning meeting means they can have their back and forth, meet, have pizza over lunch, and maybe get whatever they want signed by mid-afternoon and go back to the hotels, do the 3 S's, and go out to a celebratory dinner. That's just my script. I wrote that script up. I have no idea what they're doing. What does that mean, Aaron? You bought 1 share on Robinhood. It showed up on the level 2. So it did go straight to New York stock. That's interesting. Dominic, that's very interesting. So Citi knew what it was doing. How is that fair? Holy crap, I wish I had Lydia, the tattooed lady. Volatility protection makes sense. I just don't know what the black swan is going to be, because everyone knows the banks are in trouble. Everyone knows interest rates have gone up. Everyone knows commercial real estate is trouble. Everyone knows that China has some troubles. Everyone knows that, I'm not going to say the next 2 or 3 things. So what's going to be the out of the blue thing that makes the stock market go down? I just don't know. NVIDIA, the tattooed lady. Vivek Ramaswamy. That's a short name. It should be Ramaswamy Vapadapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidikapidik Worked for the hedge fund QVT Financial. everyone goes into. Well, you know what's terrible, David Smith? I put CRTD in my retirement account. I wish I had put it in my regular account, so at least I could have used the tax benefit. But I never would have given credit to the. There must be something I'm missing, but you have an offer on the table to sell your company for $3.30 a share into a company which you would become the CEO of. I guess his argument would be, well, now the stock's 60 cents. But I'm guessing if he had been the CEO, he would have been able to do things, so it wouldn't be at 60 cents. But look, I don't think it's, well, we can all second judge decisions, but the real enemy is not Jeremy Frommer. The enemy is, and it's not the company's fault, it's the shorts. It's Jeffrey Easton at Lind Partners, and on CRT books were also loans from Power Up Lending. I know I saw that India became the 4th country to land on the moon. I don't know why the United States stopped going to the moon, because now China and Russia both want to go after materials, and maybe it's going to be a source of power plants. But I don't know. We had to bomb deserts. It's very, very cheap. Very, very nice. Well, an amicus brief would be good. You know, maybe not legal advice would help, or Rosa. Yeah, skinny whale. That's what I think. The regulators that allow them to get away with it, and more. I sat in that meeting in Congress, and Gary Gensler said to a question, "We'll do what the courts tell us to do." Wait a minute. You're the head of the SEC. Why don't you act? Because he doesn't want to do something where he can be fired. He is a master of bureaucratic mover-upperism. But he also answered a question. They asked him something like if everything he gave was the truth, not the truth, made him swear in. And he made a clarification. Well, I'm here just speaking as myself, giving my opinion, something like that. And the congressman said, wait a minute, you're the chairman of the SEC. You're not here speaking for the SEC? I mean, this is a slippery jerk. Gary Gensler is a slippery, slippery jerk. Yeah, Korean Yoon, I think buying GTII to lower your cost average makes sense. I also think trading other stocks to make some money makes sense too. Look, folks. When do you think Finger GTI is going to run? I think Finger's going to. What do you mean by run? I think Finger's going to go to double digits by October. Maybe, some by Halloween it'll be $10 or $15 a share. But it could be a lot sooner. I think Finger could be a lot sooner. We should get a sense of it after this meeting in New York, see if something happens. But I feel like if something is going to happen in Finger, it's going to be pretty soon. And I would just say over the next weeks, perhaps 2 or 3 months, but I don't think it'll take longer than that for Finger. GTII, if Finger goes, I think GTII is going to go. I think what's going on in GTII, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to me that Alpine filing these preposterous arguments that an SEC created institution or sub-institution cannot regulate Alpine is ridiculous, and that it's I think a First Amendment issue, and that they can't force them to join FINRA. I think it's all ridiculous, but I'm not a constitutional attorney. We are 50 states, and that's why when you're a broker, you have to get blue skied in different states. So maybe there's something there. But I think Alpine's doing this to give time for these criminals out of Switzerland and Germany to drive GTII down and move stock from their better clients, naked stock from their better clients, to accounts they're going to burn. And they're going to end up burning a prime broker, but that's what I think is buying the time. They're moving the toxic dump away from valued accounts into accounts they don't care about. And that's what I think the time is for. And so in the case of GTII, that could go on a while longer. But if Finger goes, GTI will go. If Alpine goes down, for sure, GTII will go. If the FBI arrests Kurt Kramer, GTII will go. If the FBI arrests John Hurry, GTII will go. If the Treno mine comes in, GTII will go. If the water deal goes further, GTII will go. If this AI deal catches hold with revenues, GTII will go. I mean, there's lots of reasons. It is stupid, Brett. What are my feelings on Borders saying Finger is 16 in 2 weeks? I didn't know he said that. But 2 weeks is the end of August, sort of. I've heard that from other places, that the stock is going to run up by the end of August. I wish I had heard it. I wish I had heard it earlier, much earlier. So I think it's possible. Look, let's just think, why is there a big meeting in New York tomorrow? Is it to get to know each other? I don't think so. I think they've had months to get to know each other. Is it to say hi? I don't think so. Is it because these guys don't have anything better to do in Puerto Rico, Vietnam, Singapore, Washington State, Thailand? I don't think so, that either. Is it possible there's an investment bank in New York or a investment group in New York that wants to meet with them? That's possible. Finger doesn't need money, but for Finger to grow, they need financing for them to really grow at a pace. So all I can think of tomorrow's meeting is either about financing, strategy. I suppose there could be deals. I don't know. But I think it's about financing of some kind. And I think management finger is terrific. They've really never made a glaring mistake. You could argue Lind was, but remember, Lind helped them have a certain amount of revenue to grow their relationships with China Telecom and et cetera, and then grow their discounted minutes business massively. So I'm going to guess they've been working on something. They want to get together maybe they want to get together to sign something. I don't know. But maybe they also just want to get together and really kind of have a board meeting and make sure everyone's on the same page just before they go on the attack. They go out with marching orders. And so, yeah, I'd say $16. I'd say $16 by the end of August is quite possible. I'd say good movement in September, October would be also quite possible for Finger. Elon Musk just announced his plan to file legal action against George Soros. Wow. I wonder why. They all Zoom call Jeff. I'm starting to like this guy, Elon Musk. I can't believe he slept with the pirate's wife. But she looks good when she puts makeup on, I guess. But October 5 calls. October's a good, yeah, that's good. Strategy to raise the big finger on these picks. That's a good strategy. Borders, as I understand it, is kind of a broker who has big net worth investors and institutions. And reportedly, he's gotten buying in the stock of Finger over 2 million shares. I think 16 by the end of the month is possible. Lucky's doing all right, but he's incontinent. Everything he eats comes out the other end. I don't know if that's from steroids or it just means it's over. He has no capacity to contain his bowels or his bladder. So I don't know what. I've gone to the vet a few times to find out, but she's never there. All right, MKC. Yeah, there's good and bad on both sides. I think it gets to the point where people don't believe it's happening, and they don't. Oh, this is from the Queen's Guards. I have a friend who doesn't speak to me anymore, but he's a great, great guy, and he invited me out to watch him play polo with the princes. And I bought this shirt like a true tourist. He's a great guy, and it was a really good experience. Oh, there might be water in the South Pole. That would be amazing. If it goes to 16, shouldn't it push for a squeeze? Yes. I don't think it should take that long, but there will be people shorting it. These cocksure guys. Just, hey, it's up, sell it. There could be an organized attack, but I think if it gets over 9, you might see a squeeze. If it gets over 16, you might see a squeeze because those are previous highs. But the last time it was at 16, there was only about 6 to 8 million shares. I'd say 6 million shares short. I don't know if he's suffering, David. I don't know if he's suffering. He seems very happy. I've got to talk to the vet and find out if this is a reaction to steroids. He's 14 years old. I know, I miss my boy when he's gone already. Yeah, Discovery, Skinny Whale. Discovery's a bitch. FINRA has made the finding of danger to the public. Their ducking around as of today is irrational and inexcusable. I have an answer to that, not legal advice, but I can't say it to an audience that doesn't know me because then they'll think I'm the raw fish king. Thank you. If there's water on the moon, I'm moving there. Alpine might prevail based on the appellate court. Yeah, but oh God. See, I'm not enough of a lawyer, but is it the 14th Amendment that ties everything together? Their argument won't get through the Supreme Court. Asset protection. Would I get Logic or GTII? Well, I'll tell you what I'm trying to do with Logic. Often the vet tech can help answer your question. Yeah, no one was there. I've gone in 4 times. There's so many dogs because of COVID. Yeah, I'm hoping, Doug, it clears up. Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights. How'd you know he was gonna rape her? Well, I think when a man's running through an alley naked with a knife chasing a woman with a hard-on, he's gonna rape her. I think he has a point. I got to see this question. Oh, would I get Logic or Go Logic? I mean GTII. Would I get Logic or GTII right now? Right now? Tomorrow? I'd buy Logic. And I would hope that the 30 cents goes. I mean, here you can do it at any time. Maybe after the S4 is announced, the 30 cents goes to 40 cents. You get out then. It's possible after it's announced, as approved, that shorts say to themselves, well, Datalogic's going to the SPAC. The shell's going to have nothing. let's keep selling it. It's possible that logic itself doesn't go up. So then you have to decide, okay, I'm going to wait till the record date or the effective date, depending on where the price is. Then I can sell. That way I get the Aubrey SPAC side. The other thing is, if the S4 approval comes in, it gets announced, people start realizing the value is real at $1.25. The buying in logic could go up before the X date to offset any shorting that's going on. And sorry, my dog, I'm looking at him. He's laying down. And the shorts may get caught out by an announcement. I don't know, but if I were Brent, I wouldn't let the shell hang out there all naked. I would have been working over the last many months, speaking to many candidates who could come into the shell as a reverse merger. And as I've said many, many times, the only reason Brent would have let a reverse merger private company walk away from a deal is because he has better deals. So I think what's going to happen is you might get a chance to get your 30 cents, sell it at 60 cents in a matter of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What if you bought Logic tomorrow for 30 cents? And let's say the approval came out on Thursday, and then I'm making this up. Let's say on the approval comes out through the SEC. On Friday or on Monday, the company both announces that they got the approval and announces they have a reverse merger candidate. What if that happened? Then the shorts wouldn't be so keen on shorting the shell. And in fact, they might have to set about covering. Maybe the 30 cents turns into 60 cents or 90 cents. You could sell it then and go buy GTII at 60 cents. So there's a trade there, potentially. But the risk in the buying logic right now is that the short, as soon as the S4 is approved, the shorts say the shell is vulnerable, and they continue to sell it down. So you might have to wait 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, through the vote, through the record date, and through the effective date. And then you get the value of $1.25 and 40 cents, I think. The shell gets a reverse merger candidate, and the Aubrey SPAC, which has a very low float, by the way. Aubrey SPAC you're going to have maybe 13 million shares. 3 plus 11, 14 million shares. It's not very many shares outstanding, and it'll be institutional quality. You might have other deals in there. Yeah, I would buy Logic over GTII as a trade. If you want to own GTII more, just trade Logic as it goes up and come back and buy GTII, and you might be able to do that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Anybody else playing MULN? I'm not, but I have to say, if it's true that he's finally joined the fight, maybe there's a reason to buy the stock, but I would wait for a pullback. No, David, Logic's not doing a reverse split. I knew I shouldn't have talked about GoLogic. I knew it. But somebody asked about GoLogic, and GoLogic is GoLogic was itself distributed from Logic. It was all the Southeast Asia operations of Logic, basically. It was distributed from Logic 2 Decembers ago. And GoLogic has a similar story to Logic, but it's more confusing, partly because the ratios haven't been determined, and there's some missing information, which I can guess at, but it becomes confusing to talk about them both. But anyway, GoLogic has fintech as its main asset. They are distributing their fintech to recruiter.com, RCRT. RCRT is a NASDAQ listed company. RCRT's CEO screened 24 companies and chose Logic out of all of them. And he's effusive in his praise, both of Brent, but also of the platform, the technology, the artificial intelligence, the ability of the platform to scale, the ability of the platform to, if it's not redundant, grow revenues, grow earnings in a cost-effective way, add in new teams and technologies. So he chose Logic out of the thousands. The rest were all too flat. That is my pet halibut, Eric. Anyway, he chose Logic. So he was excited by it. But Recruiter.com is a NASDAQ listed stock. Recruiter.com is going to take their business elsewhere. I don't know what they're going to do with it. It's the shell, the Recruiter.com shell, that is absorbing GoLogic's fintech business and team, which Brent is the CEO of right now. He's CEO of both. The requirement to stay on NASDAQ for Recruiter.com is that it gets to $1. But more than that, the requirement for the merged assets to begin their life on NASDAQ, the stock has to be at $1 when the papers cross hands. After that, it can go down, and they have plenty of time to sort out whatever solutions. So it is Recruiter.com, which went to 45 cents, and then the CEO did a deal with the shorts. He did that for Recruiter.com. He didn't do that for GoLogic, but he still could do it, so he did it. So the stock was 45 cents. It looked like it was going higher, as I had received word that they were probably going to drive it higher, and then he did a deal, killed it, and now it's 15 cents. The markets are very hard to predict now when the shorts are active and get CEOs to do stupid things like that. But anyway, it's Recruiter.com that I think is going to have a reverse split, simply because you just put 2 and 2 and 3 together. In order for this binding deal to be effective and for it to trade on NASDAQ, the vehicle, RCRT, has to be trading above $1. So either we saw it yet 2 days ago, 60 million shares, it went up, and then the guy did a deal. I don't think you can trust the CEO of Recruiter.com not to keep doing something like that. I don't know. I don't know why he would have done it that way. Maybe he needed some cash because he's going to be, I don't know. So anyway, the only way to get it to $1 is to reverse split RCRT. So RCRT is going to be reverse split. Is it going to be 10 to 1? That's probably the number, because it would get it to $1.50. It would give it plenty of room for any of the players in the story to keep the stock up above $1 while they change papers, they move the fintech business from GoLogic into Recruiter.com, change the name of Recruiter.com as a NASDAQ company into something else. Maybe it'd be called I don't know, collective fintech. Then GoLogic is out there sitting as a shell. It will have its Australia-based, I think it's out of Australia-based fintech business, which I'm not sure they're going to keep. And then they've been screening other deals. So very much like Logic, that's a shell that's going to have to find a reverse merger candidate and maybe other deals in it. In the case of GoLogic, they've built a hell of a team. Right now, I forgot her name. They brought on a woman who worked with family offices and investment banks. She's a deal maker. I believe she lives in Costa Rica for something. My memory's telling me that. But right now, I lost her name. They brought on somebody that may step up to CEO, but he's certainly up there in the top of the business. That's GoLogic. And so here I've confused you all. Totally confused you all. Because that gets it all confused about Logic. But no, it's RCRT doing a reverse split, not for financing reasons, not because of a toxic note, but because it needs to close the binding agreement to move the GoLogic fintech businesses, revenue businesses, into the Recruiter.com shell that's a NASDAQ listed shell that's under $1. Once they get it above $1 long enough to consummate the deal, you're in then. And, they just got to sleep in the double bed that one night, and then the partners can go to the single beds for as many months as they need. Anyway, RCRT is the one. E.g., FINRA and SEC judicial branch should be appointed per Constitution by the executive branch, which is not. That is why going directly to the federal court avoids the issue. FINRA does not want... not legal advice. I've got to read from the beginning of not legal advice. Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights. Lieutenant, a good man knows his limitations. So, David, sorry for the long answer. Logic is not doing a reverse split. Logic is not doing a reverse split. RCRT is doing a reverse split. They've got to get rid of all these Logic names so it's not so confusing. GoLogic, I don't think is reverse splitting, by the way. I guess there's always a potential they'll do some weird thing, but I don't think GoLogic is. GoLogic is an equally great stock to buy in my judgment. It's just that I can't give you the same clarity I was going to say. I don't think I've been clear at all. I think the puzzle pieces for Logic are sitting on the table now, and they're just so clear. A 5-year-old could move the puzzle pieces in and finish the puzzle. In the case of GoLogic, it's going to need a 12-year-old. Oh, it's SEC doesn't want to sacrifice authority. But he doesn't use authority. And FINRA doesn't use authority. Oh, what a nightmare. We need a good man or a good woman or a good chocolate velvet cake that identifies as a furry, fluffy Siamese cat. Don't go logic. Authority equals autonomy. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure. Because you're taking it off into an argument between the SEC FINRA, the executive branch, and Congress. And I guess I'm not in it enough to understand that. To me, just from the Alpine side, you're saying they're hiding assets. That's probably true. But I think they're just moving. I think all of these crooks work together, and Gary Gensler is part of it, either by inaction or by action. He's Jewish, so they may not have that view that Catholics have, which you can have a sin by action, but also by not acting. I forget, I should know it, but I forget what it's called. A sin of omission. A sin of omission. He may not have that in his mind. I don't know. But he just doesn't do anything. So anyway, I think Alpine is criminal. And I think that the Kramers are fronts for dozens of people like Stevie Cohen or Ken Griffin or nameless people out of Germany and Canada that help each other walk stock prices down. When they get caught out, they have to walk it back down, and they have to move those positions from one exposed friend to gullible accounts or gullible prime brokers, or they start turning on each other. But I think they're trying to move this stuff to protect the kind of firms who Gary Gensler is beholden to. And make no mistake about it, Gary Gensler is beholden to Ken Griffin, Stevie Cohen, whoever now, Blankenfield, whoever is now in charge of Goldman Sachs. And Gary Gensler is dancing with all the political moves because he wants to be Secretary of the Treasury. Mark my words. The Supreme Court wants to move it back to the executive branch as long as Joe Biden's in there. But if Trump's in, they don't want to give it to him. I know, puppies are the best. Oh, God, Jack. Why are you asking that? I didn't say not. I didn't say not. The question was that I answered, Jack. Would I buy right now Logic or GTII? So let me answer. That was the question. Finger wasn't even in the question. So, Jack, let me answer the question. Again, for you, Jack. Question was, would you buy Logic now or GTI now? And I made clear, Jack, in my answer that I believe GTII is still a life-changing event. But the question is, which one would I buy right now? I said that the market ebbs and flows. There's triggers and timing that come up. Logic for 30 cents right now. Today is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's one comment left out of 64 over the last 6 to 8 months that the SEC needed an answer to. Aubrey SPAC and Logic answered that, Jack, 6 days ago. Typically, the SEC approves. That's the final one. It was a practical question. How are you going to cover the costs of closing this transaction? They answered it and explained it. There's no reason. The other 63 items have been answered to the SEC's approval, satisfaction. There's no reason this is going to hold it up. It is expected that the SEC will approve that S4, confirming the acquisition of Data Logic by Aubrey SPAC that was announced in September of 2022 within 6 days of the time the question was answered, within 5 to 7 days. Typically, they must answer it within 10. All right, so today is the 6th day, Wednesday. Tomorrow is the 7th day, Thursday. Friday is the 8th day, Friday. Monday is the 9th day, Monday. Tuesday is the 10th day, Tuesday. And Wednesday we'll throw in for a buffer. The S4 should be approved within 5 days in Logic. What's going to happen to GTII in 5 days? Well, maybe, oh maybe, and maybe. I don't know of anything happening to GTII in 5 days. If any of those maybes happen, GTII is going to go to the moon. No question about it. But I don't know of any of them happening. I know with the preponderance of evidence that this is going to happen within 5 days. Could it not happen? Sure. There's no absolutes. But 99.9%, that still leaves 0.1% of it not happening. It's going to happen in 5 days. Okay, Jack. What happens? That means the 30 cents breaks into 2 parts. It breaks into the Aubrey SPAC, which will be de-SPACed. And Aubrey SPAC is already trading for $1.25 approximately to your interest. It's already trading at that price to your interest, Aubrey SPAC. Unless Aubrey SPAC goes down massively. In fact, I gave you 2 names of SPACs that went to $40. I also gave you evidence that Aubrey SPAC could go up. But let's just say it stays at $11. This becomes $1.25 in value after the proxy. Well, if this takes till next week for the approval, the proxy will take approximately 10 days for the vote. That takes us into the first or second week of September. Then you immediately have a record date and an effective date. This value comes immediately to you. Value, I'm not saying the price might fluctuate, but I think it could as easily be $2.50 a share as $1.25, but it's possible to be a little bit less. I don't think it'll be 30 cents. This comes to you in 3 weeks, that value. Could be more in 3 weeks. What happens to GTII in 3 weeks? Well, maybe Trento, maybe the FBI, maybe the AI deal kicks in, maybe Finger runs, and then people take their profits and come here, maybe there's a big buyer, maybe Alpine goes down in 3 weeks, maybe Kurt Kramer turns himself in. What happens with GTII in 3 weeks? I don't know of anything for sure. This is as almost for sure as you get, that this value is going to be created within 3 weeks. Value. Now, that's one thing that's going to happen. The shell of logic, the shorts right now, that's why they're selling it off, are thinking, well, the shell's not going to be worth anything. Nobody's going to protect that. We'll just drive it down. Well, the shell was going to be in a reverse merger with a private company, which was announced, that had a $250 million transaction value approximately, worth 40 to 60 cents a share to your interest, Jack. And Brent let that non-binding agreement expire. Why? Because he wants the stock to go down? No, I don't think so. I think, as he said on many calls, it's been on many earnings reports, it's been in many earnings releases, it's been in research reports. This guy has deal flow because small companies, the IPO market is shut. They want to monetize their teams, their effort, their technology. I think it's because he's got better deals. So, just using the lower number, 40 cents, not the 50, not the 60 cents, not assuming it's a better deal, because I would think the only reason he would let a non-binding agreement to acquire a private company that was worth 40 to 60 cents go is because he has a better deal. But let's just use the 40 cents. So you've got 40 cents here. Now, when does this get announced? Well, do they just not announce it? Does that make sense to you? I don't think that makes sense. I think it makes sense that they announce it at or around the same time that this SPAC deal goes effective. Remember, Brent is fighting the shorts. Also remember that he's been working on reverse mergers. And also remember that there's a lot of wankers in here that probably want to get it all done at the same time. So you add up $1.25 and 40 cents in value, which could be double that. This could be double that. But you got up $1.25 and 40 cents, Jack. That's $1.65. You pay 30 cents. This value is created, again, by the second week of September. It's not if, but, wait, still have to approve, none of that. It's not, does Alpine going to go down? Is it in court? What's the appeals court say? Is the FBI doing anything? Is Finger going to go up and people take some of their profits and come to GTII? Is the AI deal going to have revenues for? It's none of those. And remember, Jack, I'm talking about the shortest of time frames. 3 weeks. I'm not changing my opinion on GTII. I'm just saying in 3 weeks time frame. The question, Jack, I was asked, if you were going to buy tomorrow or today, Logic or GTII, which one would you do? I'm answering it for me, Jack. You can answer it for yourself. If I bought Logic tomorrow for 30 cents, I could turn that 30 cents into $1.65 of value. Let's just say that I could sell it before effective date, because I don't want to get my money tied up. Before effective date, let's say I could sell it for $1 to $1.20. Let's say I could just sell it. Let's just say I could sell it for 90 cents. 90 cents. Okay, so I take 30 cents, I turn it into 90 cents in 3 weeks. Now, that, if in my arithmetic, is 3 times my money. 3 times my money. What is the odds of GTII in those 3 weeks going to $1.80? Jack, I'm waiting. I don't know either. The squeeze in GTII could happen in 3 weeks. It's true. There could be an announcement. It's true. The stock could drift back up to $1. It's true. It could go to $1.50 almost at any time. It's true. But are there definite reasons why that would happen in 3 weeks? I don't know. I would love to be able to buy both. But if you're asking which one I would buy, I would turn 30 cents into 90 cents, getting 3x. It might be worth more than 3x. I'd take that 90 cents, and instead of buying a share, maybe I can buy a share and a half of GTII. So I would do the trade in Logic with the goal of getting my shares, increasing the number of shares I could buy in GTII. Would I be taking a risk that GTII squeezes in 3 weeks? Sure. That's just the choice, Jack. You buy GTII, it might do something in 3 weeks. You buy Logic, it is going to do something in 3 weeks. So that was the question that was asked to me, Jack. Now, you threw in Finger. And that makes it a little tougher. I think Finger has the chance to do, just like Logic. Let me erase it. And there'll be water on here and it won't work. But I think, as I just showed you, Logic could go 30 cents to 90 cents in the next 3 to 6 weeks, or higher. But now, there is a risk here, and that risk is the shorts continue to short Logic because they just don't believe that there's going to be a reverse merger. That'll be on Brent. That's why I think there'll be a news announcement. But that's the risk. If he doesn't announce a reverse merger, maybe this only goes to 40 cents or stays where it is. But instead of 90 cents, it could easily also go to $1.25, $1.50. If it stays at 30 or 40 cents, oops, I think you're stuck in Logic. You've got to wait for the effective date. Go ahead and take the two pieces of paper for one piece of paper here becomes two pieces of paper on the record date, and it should be worth $1.50 a share total to you, with no shorts involved at all at that point. But I think you have a reasonable trade at 3 times here in sort of 3 to end of August, beginning of September. Finger at $5, I think Finger could go to $15. I think Finger can go to $15. This is more certain, but it has risks. This is building up. I think Finger could go 3x by the end of August, beginning of September. So this becomes a harder choice to me. I think this is pretty certain. And the worst case here is you have to wait until the effective dates and then maybe wait a couple of months. But Finger, I think, can do 3x by the end of August, middle of September. It might take longer. I mean, there's always risks. But you know what would swing it in the favor of Finger to me? Short squeeze. I think Finger has the potential, once it gets to 12 or 15, that I don't know which number. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 21, maybe it's 33. But at some point, anything that makes it go to 33 could make it go to 300. So I think if you're asking me between these two, I'd have to go with Finger. So Jack, that's my answer. But the question that was given me was not regarding logic and Finger. Lucky, Lucky, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come on. Lucky, Lucky, come on, come here, come here, come on, come up here, come up here. Come on. Gosh, it's the only time I get upset. He was eating some of his own poop. So he must, I think the steroids make him so hungry. Or he's just, he might not be all well. We are distinguishing not legal advice. If I misspoke, that might be why maybe I misspoke. Yes, in the case of logic, it's going to be a reverse merger. A reverse merger. Into the shell. If I misspoke, that might be why he was asking me that. I might have said it the wrong way before. Hey, Buster. Hi.
They missed to see you.
I missed you too. You should be, you know where they should put your picture? Right on a jar of baby food. You would sell millions. Cutie pie. Bye. Good to see you. Well, Skydog, the tough thing is if you have to only buy one, it's a little tricky. So Jack's question of, well, I'm interpreting his question, of logic or finger, I would pick finger. Logic, GTI, which was the other gentleman's question, with bated breath, with my breath held, I would pick logic, hoping that it would trade up, and then I could go back and buy GTII. So that would be how I would do that. But I would recognize there would be a risk. There's an opportunity cost, I guess, that in that 3 weeks GTII runs. And that would be a risk I'd be assuming. So and yes, not legal advice. Just to be clear, the reverse split will happen, I think, in RCRT. In the case of the shells, one talks about reverse mergers. And I know maybe I misspoke. It's also confusing. Oh, I said reverse merger, not... Okay, good. But for me, it's also trying to stair-step the value of an account. Anyway, that was my answer. It's not that I feel less strongly about the potential for GTII. I do happen to agree with Ham that finger is poised to go first, which I would have, for months, I would have assumed the opposite. But I think finger, because of its good management team and because of its excellent CEO, have stuck to their knitting, and they broke their big plan down into smaller pieces, and they've accomplished those pieces, and now the reward is coming. As a friend of mine said, let me see if I can paraphrase it without being too provocative. Finger motion is one of the only sort of Chinese companies that have run in plays before that has real fundamentals. And what's intriguing, what I noticed when I was looking at the numbers, at least for the time being, Logic's revenues are higher than Finger's. But the fundamentals isn't all of the story. The fundamentals of Finger is incredible, but it's not all of the story. It's the squeeze, 160 million shares. That squeeze is so tempting. It's like I don't know who. I can't think any. It's just very tempting. Yeah, maybe Finger, then Logic, then GTII. But the problem is, I really think Logic is going to get the S4 approval. Everything's happening all at once. But I think Logic's S4 approval is going to come. Let's look right now. Maybe it came now. It's not 6 o'clock. It is a lot of maybes. It is a lot of maybes. There are a lot of maybes. I heard there was an update from the investigation of FCC for trade. I heard there was a letter. Somebody asked me earlier, and I can't find that letter. So I am saying there's a chance. Would I sell 1,000 shares of GTII to get 2,000 shares of Logic? Is it your only shares of GTII? I'd be tempted. Let's say you had 11,000 shares of GTII. I'd be tempted to, particularly if you had a loss in GTII, I'd be tempted to make that trade if you could get logic at 30 cents. But if you made that trade, for me to have it make sense, you would have to have the ability to wait 31 days to buy back GTII, which is a hard discipline, so you could take advantage of the tax loss. If you're unhappy with GTII, I would do that trade. If there's a tax loss, I think I'd consider it. But I wouldn't get out of. I wouldn't swap out of GTII. My biggest fear with GTII is nothing's changed in GTII. You've got management who is on your side, management who will not. Lucky, don't go eat that. Okay, good boy. Management who will not make a deal with the shorts. Management who's doing everything they can to catch out the shorts. You still have all the triggers in place, the rat traps in place in GTII. I wouldn't get out of GTII. I would want to own GTII. So if it's a trade you're doing on the margin, or you're doing it with a little bit of your stock to establish a tax loss, just you'd be out of it for a month, and then that's the risk that you're not. Logic is not going to give you. Let me put it a different way. If you were asking me AMC versus GTII, I'd say sure, get out of AMC, wait 31 days, and go into GTII. Why? Because during the 31 days, you could take the losses in AMC. Sure, you're missing out on the potential short squeeze in AMC, but there's a potential short squeeze in GTII as well. I'm not so sure. The possibility of a short squeeze in logic isn't zero, but it's not like GTII by any means. So that's a wishy-washy answer because I don't know your situation. But if you're doing it with 1% or 5% or even 10% of your position, some small percentage, sure, because then you're creating more. You're creating more equity that you can come back and buy GTII with. But one of the biggest things going on for GTII right now, in my opinion, is finger. And if finger goes, which there is a number, none of us know what it is. Is it $9? Is it $15? Is it $21? There is a number after which the selling becomes buying, and there's no more selling from the criminals, at least for a few days. And you could see finger go. Well, if that happens, GTII is going to go. Not much of an answer. Yeah, I think GTI, if it starts running, you will never be able to get back in at those prices. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Sometimes you just can't play everything. Sometimes you just got to let one of them go by. I don't think logic is life-changing money. GTII is life-changing money. On the other hand, I think logic is 5-1, 10-1. For me, that's pretty good money, and that kind of return helps you build a base for the next play. So, I don't know. Everybody's got to make their own balancing act. Evergrande and Country Garden collapsing. Um, I don't think Evergrande collapsing or Country Garden are the problem per se. You'd have to ask not legal advice, but my understanding is some of the payments are being withheld, and that could have a ripple effect into the American financial markets. And I'm trying to remember the rationale, but if some of these pools of funds or partnerships stop receiving money in the United States, that could be really difficult. I don't think it'll happen tomorrow, but that could be difficult. I think China has plenty of ability to support its banks and its economy. If you can compare Evergrande and Country Garden to commercial real estate in the United States, and I'm not sure you really can. That may be one bridge too far, but the poor boy. I think I need to take him to the vet. All right, that might be my last question. But anyway, I think commercial real estate. It's not the assets themselves that are as concerning to me as the cash flows, the payment flows that other partnerships, other investors are counting on. It's that backwards velocity of money effect that I think could be very damaging to the United States markets and economy. That's not a great answer, but that's how I see it. I hope I like steak. All right, I'm going to go try. It's 6 o'clock. No, I got 3 minutes. I'm going to go try to take my dog to the vet. They won't see me, but Hobson, did you see the doctor? Yes, Arthur, and he has seen me. Yeah, it's a slowdown in turnover, and I don't know what chapter 15 is. I assume it's some hybrid of 7 and 13. It's just the ripple effects is where it'll start to get really bad. So in other words, I think we can have our roadrunner moment where we're floating in thin air, and then eventually it could really be devastating. Yeah, there's a vet over here that stays open till 8, so I can go to that vet. And there's another vet which won't see anybody without a 6-week appointment. That won't help. So I just wonder, does that mean I have to put him down? If his... Oh, God. I'll go find out. All right, so 1 minute. I suggest tuning into Ace is the Place for better answers, and tuning into Not Legal Advice for perfect answers of foreign corporations. And suggest tuning into Ham for The Voice and tuning in 3 weeks to the U.S. Open, where Djokovic reclaims #1. I'll pet Lucky. I'll take the meds with me. All right, 6 o'clock. Thank you for listening. I'm definitely not. I'm not saying get out by any means. Am I saying get out of GTII? And I'm not saying switch out a finger. I was just giving. There's a little time urgency on an idea with logic. It's just on the margin money, you know. And the good thing about trading something that works, it makes you feel good if you can book a profit if it works, and before you go waiting on the other one. So anyway, all right, we will talk later. We'll see you in the morning. Let's go to the vet. So peace, love, and happiness, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Blessings to everybody.